Tell me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true. I'll go.
Okay, so this, I cannot make sense of it. It still bugs me. It freaks me out. It's just super weird. But I was 18 when this happened, and at the time I was living with my ex-boyfriend in an apartment in town. And I was working night shift at a nursing home, and this night I was working, and it was probably about 2:30 in the morning, and my boyfriend, he calls me, and he's like, hey, there's something weird going on. I was like, okay, like, what's going on? He's like, there's something in our room. And we've both been very, like, sensitive to supernatural, so it was kind of normal at this apartment at this point. He's like, there's something weird, like, it's sitting at the end of our bed. I was like, tell me, like, explain better. And he's like, well, there's a man in a rocking chair in our room, and we don't have a rocking chair in our room. And he's like, it's just sitting on this rocking chair staring at me and smiling. He's like, it's just smiling, like, it's a big smile, like, unnaturally big, and, like, just super wide eyes, not even blinking or anything. And I was like, well, is it doing anything? Like, is it just staring at you or what? And he's like, well, it's trying to talk to me, but it's in a language I don't understand. And I was like, okay, that's really weird. I was like, you should just try to ignore it, and maybe it'll go away. And so I told him I had to leave and go do something at work. So I called him back maybe 10 minutes later. So when I called him back, I was like, is this still going on? And he was like, yeah, like, he's still there, but I don't think he's that bad. Like, he's like been laughing and joking with me, and, like, just he's kind of funny, you know? I was like, no, I don't know funny spirits. That's weird. And I asked him, I was like, what's he joking about anyways? And he's like, well, I don't think you'd really understand. Like, I don't remember the jokes exactly verbatim. I was like, okay. I was like, has he said anything else? He's like, well, he's been trying to ask me about you, but I don't know how to answer these questions. I was like, well, don't answer them, first of all. And I was like, what questions, though? And he's like, well, he's asking where you're from. And I only told him that you're not from the state. I was like, okay. Well, ask it where it came from. And it said it came from a portal that was on the same road as our apartment. I was like, okay, that's still super weird. And then I asked my boyfriend, I was like, well, ask it where it came from before the portal. And so at this point, my boyfriend's the middleman, and I'm talking to the spirit through him while I'm at work on the phone for maybe 10 more minutes. And it was asking me where I got and learned my, like, abilities from, like mediumship, and stuff about my old house that it's just weird. Like, I was like, how do you know this stuff about me? Like, why are you asking me these things? And it would laugh at me, and it would not answer my questions. And so I was like, okay, well, this is going on too long. Like, it's just mocking me at this point. It's not answering my questions, and it's asking me very personal questions. And so at this point, it was like, it like clicked in my head. I was like, hey, like, I asked my boyfriend, I was like, how do you understand what it's saying if it's not speaking English, right? And he was like, oh my god. He's like, I didn't even realize. He's like, I don't know. I was like, is it speaking English now or what? He's like, no. He's like, it's definitely still speaking the other language, but he's like, I can understand it though. I was like, that is weird, and that is probably not good. I told him, I was like, well, we should definitely stop talking to it. We'll try to do something about it when I get home. And so I told him, like, just ignore it, don't talk to it anymore. I was like, this thing is weird. And so I told him, like, I have to go for work anyways, just text me if you need anything. And so he texted me a few more times throughout the night, and this man, I call him the smiling man, he got up and he was standing over my boyfriend while he was trying to sleep, just like staring over him next to the bed, just staring at him, watching him try to sleep. And he's brave, because he did go to sleep like that. I think he maybe went away. But the next morning I get home, and I was like, I don't know what we should do. Should we go get, like, blessed or anything? And I ended up saging the house, And when I staged the house, I did a couple other things, but the activity there didn't really stop. But the weird smiling man didn't come in our house. Like, that place was so creepy. Like, my mom would never come inside the house, like the apartment. We had shadow figures, sleep paralysis, things moving, things getting lost, just bad luck overall. And when I moved out, I finally asked my landlord, I was like, or I told him about it, I guess. I was like, there's something weird with that apartment. We had this and this and this happen, you know. And he was like, that's really weird that you say that, because that's the only apartment out of all of the ones that he owns that he could not keep a tenant in. They would always leave early or they would not stay. And so I guess he got exorcised and blessed and all that stuff because he was very religious. And I don't think I've had an experience with that hat man since, but I just think it's super weird. Like, I don't understand why he was asking me these questions or how he knew these questions. But anyways, that is my freaky story.